That there be love and understanding among us as we go to sleep. Hashkivenu l'shalom, va'amidenu l'chaim, because we hope that we will rise the next day in life. So, what's going to happen tomorrow? We don't know. We don't really know how long we are here. So we get to ask ourselves, how am I being while I am here? So tonight, I'm going to offer some framing, some questions connecting to our Siddur, our Parsha, and what people like you, including one very particular person over here, has brought to the community. How we get to ask the questions that are in our hearts is really the point. The questions in our hearts, we get to bring them to the community so that we can all learn, we can all wonder, and we can all try to live a little more intentionally with curiosity while we are here, with love, with understanding. So if you turn, what comes next, the prayer we're not going to quite jump into right now, but shortly, our next prayer is on page 91. So I invite you to look at page 91. And who can jump in and just read under number 1 what it says there? Blessed are you. You can all do it together even. The Ancient One, our God. Together, God of our ancestors, God of... Yep, do it however, whatever. Yep. Yep. And there's different ways to read it, right? You go down the columns, you go across, and so what you did was perfect. So the question is, who are these people? What's their relationship to us? Who is not here? And how does that help us wonder about how we have love, have understanding, and value human beings around us and live in integrity? So that's kind of the framework for tonight. So this week's Parsha, Vayetze, is, oh my gosh, one of these crazy, amazing Parshiot. In the beginning books of Genesis, so much happens. So first of all, you have Jacob. Jacob is a twin. And he is in this Parsha running away from his twin brother because he stole the birthright and he stole this special blessing that his brother was going to get, and his older brother. And his older brother is really mad. Anyone ever have your siblings mad at you? Yeah, right? Adults as well as children, yes? So his brother got so mad he wanted to kill him, and so mom said, I think it's best you leave home right now, and why don't you actually go to where my family is, over in Haran. And so Jacob says, I will do that. And so he leaves from Beersheba, south, and he starts leaving, and he goes on his journey, He gets to a place that we're not going to explore a lot. He's tired, he goes to sleep. At that place, he has this fascinating dream of angels going up a ladder and down a ladder. Oh my gosh, ma nora makom hazeh. This is an amazing, wondrous, mystical place right here. What is going on? Stuff happens, but he keeps on going because he has to go get it to his family. So eventually he gets closer to his family and he says, hey, I see you people waiting by the well, and I wonder if any of you know Lavan. And they're like, oh yeah, we know Lavan, and that's his daughter over there, Rachel. And Lavan is his uncle, right? His mom's brother. When his mom said, get out of here, go see family, go see my brother. So he's like, oh my gosh, family's right here. And so they end up meeting, and he meets Rachel, and she's so beautiful, and so he falls in love with her. And there's things to say about beauty and all sorts of things to say that we're not going to talk about tonight. But so he goes up, and Rachel says, yes, come with me. Rachel says, come with me to my father's home. And so they go to the father's home, and he says, oh my gosh, my family, you're so welcome, please be here. And he stays there, and he's helping out for a month. And then the uncle says, well, you can't just work here for nothing. Let me give you something to reward you. Would you like one of my daughters? Okay, we're not going to get into all that. But anyway, these Parshiot are really full, aren't they? So he says, yes, I would love Rachel, the younger daughter, the one who I think is so beautiful. And so he says, oh, okay, well, you work. And he says, I will work for you for 7 years, and then I would love to marry your daughter. And so he says, okay, that's fine. And so 7 years he's working. He says, okay, it's time now. I've worked for 7 years. I'd like to make her my wife. And so he says, okay, that's fine. And so they go, and he ends up that night, he's expecting that it's going to be Rachel in his tent with him, and he finds out in the morning it's not Rachel, it's her older sister Leah. Wow, okay, so Lavan at that point, I don't know why he didn't do it earlier, but he says, we don't really marry the younger off before the older, so this is what happened, and you can work for another 7 years. And they decide, okay, he'll work for another 7 years, so they do that. And then finally he gets to marry the sister Rachel. So now he's got these 2 wives. Now, as we've already noted, there are some issues with agency, with choosing how you want your life to go, with value of what is the value of somebody. So in this time, a woman had value is if she had children. And if she didn't have children, as Rachel says to Jacob after they're married and she's not having children, she's like, what? It's as if I died. Give me children. I have no value. Because if she's not giving heirs, then the woman really, there was no place for her then. So she has a gift from her father when she got married, was actually another woman, a woman named Bilhah. And when Leah got married, she also got, as a wedding present when she got married to Jacob, also a gift of a woman, a handmaid, Zilpah. So there's 4 women who are involved now. And Leah's had children, and Rachel hasn't had children. And so Rachel says, you know what? I'm not having children, so have children with my handmaid, Bilhah. And then she has children. And then Leah says, well, she's getting more children that way. Maybe I should get more children over this way. And so she says, well, why don't you have more children with my handmaid, Zilpah? So we're getting more children, a lot more children. We end up getting 12 children in all. But the question is, who are these people we're talking about? We're talking about Abraham, one of the questions. The question I'm bringing forth here that is brought through congregants that the religious committee is talking about and that I wanted to invite you into the conversation with is we have here Jacob. Jacob, who came from Isaac, who came from Abraham. Oh, those names. Wait, that's a line. Wait, didn't we just, page 90. God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Oh, that's what we're talking about. And who are these women? Sarah. Oh yeah, Sarah and Abraham. Oh, we talked about that last time I was giving a drash. I was talking about Sarah and Hagar. And then Abraham and Sarah. They have Isaac, who marries Rebekah. Oh right, Rebekah's the one who said, "Listen, son, go away and go to my uncle." And Jacob. Oh right, Rachel and Leah. Oh, so here we are. We're in this chain of these ancestors, what are called the Avot, the patriarchs, the Imahot, the matriarchs. We're here because of these people who created the 12 tribes of Israel and all the descendants and the Kohanim and the Leviim and the Yisraelim and all these, however, it all goes back to these people. Is there anyone not on this list that we've named so far? If we've got 12 tribes and we just named Jacob, he had children with Rachel, he had children with Leah. Wait a minute, didn't Rabbi Daria just say that there was 2 other women, that Rachel and Leah each had a handmaid, and they also were involved in the 12 tribes? Well, they're not in here, are they? And so that's the question that the religious committee at this congregation is actually wondering about. Well, how do we honor them? Do we honor them? Raise your hand if you think we should honor them in some way. In some way. Raise your hand if you don't know what to do, but you're kind of just like You don't know what to do, but there's a curious kind of thing to be encountering. Yes, great. So that is the discussion that we are having right now. It's Midrash, right? It uses these biblical key points that I just said and fills it in one way. There are so many ways to fill in the gaps and to ask questions about who are these ancestors? How do we relate to them? How do we relate to us? What's the language and framing of this text even? And I guess I'm just going to add one last piece. I was talking to Esther Goldenberg, actually. I invited her to come tonight, and I was talking to her in preparation for today. She wasn't able to come. And speaking of like, who knows, this was a striking thing that I actually will just put into the mix. One of the pieces that Rabbi Josh and I also were wondering is, for us personally, we're like, yeah, it makes sense to honor them. They birthed, these children who are our ancestors of the Jewish people also. Is this the right place? Because the opening of it is, blessed are you, our God, God of our ancestors, these specific ancestors. But actually, were the women traditionally mentioned in this book? No. The Siddur, for most of history, did not have the women at all. It only had the men. But you know what? The women didn't choose, they kind of chose somewhat. There was ways that they weren't Jacob said, I will take her as payment for working for you. She didn't say, right? The volition already came from him. So the God that we're talking about here in this prayer is really the God of Jacob. We don't know although Rachel is the daughter of Lavan, that there's family pieces in there. There's just a lot of questions we get to start asking when we slow down. Does it actually make sense to include the So my surprising thing is, does it make sense to include the matriarchs here? Because, I don't know, Rachel and Leah, Rebecca and Sarah, did they have the same God as Abraham and Isaac and Jacob? Was there a slightly different, what do we know about ancient gods and ancient God and all sorts of different, so my mind was just blown earlier today and like, maybe there's other ways to honor even the matriarchs. So I'm just like, wow, this is hot off the press of wondering, how do we honor? How do we value people? Recognizing diversity, different backgrounds. And that's the question that may we carry forth with us as we lay down in peace, rise up in peace every day that we are here. And let us say, Amen.